Hey everyone, now that our background is dry, we're going to begin to draw in the pumpkins using a white charcoal pencil. So I'm going to be drawing two pumpkins on the screen, one in the beach ball style and one in the hamburger bun style. So first, I'm going to lightly draw out a beach ball shape going off the page nice and large. So my beach ball is going about halfway up the canvas and about halfway across the canvas. And now I'm going to draw in the second style. So I'm drawing a long oval or a hot dog bun. And then on the left and the right side, I add in another hot dog bun. And I have to decide which pumpkin is going to be in front and which is going to be behind. And I'm sketching in a couple more. And then a stem right at the top. Behind the pumpkin, I added two more, just a hint of those hot dog shapes. So that is one style of pumpkin. The beach ball style of pumpkin, I'll draw the stem going up the top here. And from the center of the pumpkin, I'm drawing curved lines to fill in the shape of the beach ball. So my curved lines are going to go down the front, side, and then just a hint of line behind. Whatever style pumpkin you prefer to draw is up to you. If you would like to do two hamburger bun style pumpkins or two beach ball style pumpkins, that's fine. I did one of each just for the video so you can see the two styles of pumpkin. Now from here, I'm going to begin to add in the colors. So on your palette, you should have some white, some yellow, and some red. So red and yellow make orange, and adding in that block out white, that's the type of white we're using, is going to give the paint more of a dense, opaque. So we're painting with this light orange on top of the green. Adding in the block out white will make one or two layers of the orange cover the green. If I simply painted the yellow and the red onto here, I would need many layers of it because the yellow that we're using, that cadmium yellow, is so light and translucent that it would take many layers to cover that green. So I'm blending on the palette to mix the color that I'm looking for, and I'm allowing it to blend right on the canvas as well. When I paint in the sections of pumpkin, I'm going to vary the light and dark sections so that you can see the difference in one pumpkin section to the next. If that gets lost, those curved lines that we created, if they get hidden inside of your paint, don't worry. One of the last steps is going to be to redefine those lines with some gold paint. If you want to make a nice dark outline, you can take the red and blend it right into the orange that you already have. If the paint on your canvas is still wet, it'll blend in nicely. I'll also have some orange paint out for you to use as well. So if you want to use the orange right out of the tube, you can. But know that if you want to lighten it, you just add the white and yellow. And if you want to darken it, you add a little bit more red. So now I'm mixing a lighter tone for the section of pumpkin here. So now I can see the difference in the two. And I had to decide which pumpkin is going to go in front and which pumpkin is going to go behind. That little pumpkin, the one that I did the hot dog bun style, that one's going to go in front of the bigger pumpkin. So I'm painting around it right now. And I'm going to speed myself up a little bit so I could fill in all of these sections of pumpkin. In between colors, I am washing my brush in the water and drying it on the paper towel. Or if I start to feel like I have too much paint on the brush. The more paint you have on the brush, the harder it is to control. I like to mix the paint, a combination of on the actual canvas itself and on the palette. I like to start with the color that I'm mixing on the palette so that I know what I'm working with. And then if I want to go back in right on the canvas and add a little bit more red or yellow or white to lighten or darken it, I'll do that too. There's no right or wrong way to put down the variation of color. So if one section is lighter or darker than the other, that is okay. You don't have to try to match the exact hues that I'm creating here. If you'd like your pumpkins to be even lighter, you can add more white to them. If you want them to be darker, add more red or more orange. For most of us, we're going to need a second layer in order for these to completely cover the green backgrounds, and that's okay. It is acrylic paint. As long as we're not putting it on too thick, it should be dry in about 10 minutes. While you're waiting for it to dry, you can step outside, take a mask break, get a snack or beverage, visit with your friends, see how their pumpkins are coming out. Don't forget the little sections behind the pumpkin. I forgot those on my large pumpkin. I'm going to have to go in and fill those in after. So it took me about 5 minutes or so to paint the small pumpkin. So now my first pumpkin is ready for its second coat. Decided to go a little bit darker with the second coat. Oops, I got a hair there. Remember, if you get a hair stuck on your canvas, just use the edge of your paintbrush to pick it right up and then wipe it to the side. So go a little bit darker, bringing out some more of the vibrant color there. Blending in the red wherever I want the shadow, and the white where I want a lighter, more highlighted area. If at any point you need to switch to a smaller size brush, you can always do so. If you're leaving the brush while you're switching to a smaller brush or taking a break and stepping away from your canvas, please remember to put your brush in the water or wash it very thoroughly before you leave it on the table. If you leave your brush down and walk away from it, you're going to come back to a dry, nasty brush. It's practically impossible to get the acrylic paint out of the deep fibers of the brush once it has dried in there. And now my little pumpkin's ready for its second coat as well. The nice thing about acrylic paint is you can paint over it once it's dried 1,000 times and still paint on top of it again. So if you mix a color originally and you've changed your mind, you don't particularly care for it, that's fine. Wait 5-10 minutes for that coat to dry and you can make a whole new color and put it right on top of it. In college, when I couldn't always afford new canvases, sometimes I would do a project right over an old project. I would just prime the canvas again, paint right over my last painting, and hand in my next assignment. So if ever you need to paint back on top of a canvas, you could fix entire sections and paint right over them to make it what you want it to be. Acrylic paint is very forgiving that way. Not so forgiving if you get it on your clothes, but very forgiving on the canvas. And once those sections are complete, we'll be moving on to the stem, the leaves, some vine, and some backgrounds. I'm just putting some finishing touches on my highlights and shadows here. Speed it along a little bit more. Here we go. There was one point in the video where I put my brush to the side for a minute and I forgot to pause it. And you can keep working on sections until you feel like you don't see the green showing through anymore and you're happy with the variation of light and dark between the different sections of the pumpkin. Now, once you have the background of the pumpkin, your green background dry, and the orange of the pumpkin has had a few minutes to set, then we're going to take this dark umber, it's that dark brown paint, and switching to the smaller brush, we're painting in the stems. I'm also using a little bit of the white paint as well, so that the stem doesn't look too flat. So I'm using the white to create a highlight, to give that stem some form, to make it look more three-dimensional. So first I'm putting in the base coat of the brown, and then adding in the lighter areas. Wherever the lighter area is on one pumpkin stem, you would want it to be similar on the second pumpkin stem. So now I'm going to allow the pumpkins and the stem to dry before I go in with my details.